on revisiting the assessment method for medical education in COVID-19 scenario, which is hosted by Nitte University. As we all know, since last 2 months, due to the outbreak of COVID-19, government had issued orders for closing down of the schools, colleges, and higher education institutions to contain the spread of the virus. This lockdown has affected teaching, learning, and assessment methodology in all the educational institutions. There is uncertainty in all levels of education. Medical education is not an exception. The current situation has enforced a paradigm shift in a delivery of education from traditional chalk and talk model to a technology-driven model. One of the most common issues encountered by medical schools in our country is about conducting the undergraduate and postgraduate examinations. In view of this, Nitte decided to host this panel discussion to find a viable solution for the challenging issues faced by all the health universities. This program is a brainchild of our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Satish Kumar Bhandari, a well-known academician and ENT surgeon. Today, we have a galaxy of eminent personalities in the medical field as our panelists. May I request our Honorable Vice Chancellor to introduce all the panelists to the audience and welcome them for this program. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Prasad. Namaskar. It's indeed my privilege to welcome all the distinguished panelists and all the participants to this unique webinar hosted by Nitte deemed to University, Mangalore. I'm happy to tell you that more than 910 academicians, teachers, controller of examinations, vice chancellors have registered for this webinar. This shows the importance of this webinar. The theme of this webinar is very relevant and deserves special attention as it is trying to address the problems faced by the universities for training and evaluation of medical students in this unprecedented situation caused by COVID-19. Dear friends, you are all aware that COVID-19 problem is going to continue for a longer period than expected. Then we have to learn to live with it. Social distancing, personal hygiene, personal protection will become a way of life for us who are working in the hospital and of the students and healthcare professionals to face the new reality is the need of the hour. To practice social distancing in a clinical training setup, it's unrealistic according to me and becomes a major handicap for acquiring both hard and soft skills, which is very much essential for healthcare professionals, not only for doctors, nurses, paramedics, and dental professionals. We understand that the medical postgraduates who have completed their tenure of training, taking the final examination in various universities are facing uncertainty due to lack of clarity about the modality of practical assessment, and we have to answer them. I think our control examination always asks me when to conduct, how to conduct the examination. I don't have any answer. To address the issue, we have organized this webinar, inviting distinguished personalities from various fields, those I got exposure to alternative methods of examination, particularly OSCE. I think DNB board is doing for the last so many years. OSCE is another method, and PACES MRCP. Georgie is the expert in this particular area, and you invited the distinguished faculty for this webinar. We want to hear from them. Is there any other alternative method to conduct examination so that this final year batch of students can be sent out to the field so that they can work as specialists and help the community in this distress time? I would like to introduce my distinguished panelist. Professor Ved Prakash Mishra ji will be joining us shortly. Unfortunately, he has got some issues in joining and that it is being sorted out. Professor Ved Prakash Mishra is the illustrious member of medical fraternity. He is presently the Pro-Chancellor of Dattamegi Institute of Medical Sciences, and he was the chairman of the Academic Committee of Medical Council of India, and he is instrumental in bringing competency-based medical education for MBA students and launching National Faculty Development Program for teaching staff of medical schools. He has received more than 75 prestigious national and international awards in recognition of his service to higher education in general and medicine in particular. I welcome him in his absence. I will once again welcome him when he comes and joins us. Another very important faculty resource person is Dr. George. Dr. George Abraham is the Professor of Medicine, Pondicherry Institute of Medical Sciences, and is the Director of Nephrology in Medical Mission. Professor George is a nephrologist by profession and the chairman of Global Outreach Program in Nephrology, started by International Society of Nephrology in India. He is running a successful MRCP PACES Practical Examination Center for more than 12 years in Chennai. I welcome Georgie for...
Thank you. Thank you.
Professor Rashmikant Dave, Vice President of National Board of Examination and the Dean of Faculty of Medicine, Gujarat University, has been a major force behind initiating number of reforms in the conduct of examinations for medical, dental and paramedical courses in Gujarat. Under his leadership, DNB program has undergone tremendous transformation in the country. I welcome Professor Rashmikant Dave to the webinar.
Thank you. Thank you.
Professor S. Sachidananda is a renowned dermatologist and senior professor and he was the Registrar of Evaluation of Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences, and he was Director of Medical Education, and he was Director of Bangalore Medical College, and presently is the Vice Chancellor of Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences, one of the largest health universities in the country. I welcome Professor Sachidananda ji for this webinar. Dr. Rajesh Sharma is a good friend of mine and is an orthopedician by profession and is actively involved in Indian Medical Association activities for more than 4 decades, and rightly has been elected as the National President of Indian Medical Association. He has fought for the cause of medical profession and is instrumental in bringing several reforms in the Medical Establishment Act and Professional Indemnity Act when he was the State President of Haryana. I welcome Dr. Rajesh Sharma for this webinar. I welcome all the participants who were registered for this webinar. I thank each one of you for showing so much a keen interest in participating in this session. Over to Prasad Shetty for further proceedings.
Thank you, sir. We will begin with the panel discussion now. My first question is to Dr. George Abraham, sir. Sir, it was in 2007 you introduced MRCP UK PACES exams to India. You are the pioneer in this. Sir, can you please share your experience on MRCP PACES model of assessment and its suitability in the emerging scenario?
Thank you. Thank you, sir. It's an honor and a privilege for me to be involved with all the distinguished people who are in the panelists. Let me tell you that I am an MD examiner for decades and also an MRCP examiner for the last 12 years. I have seen the strength and weakness of both systems of examination. And I would just give you a snapshot view of how the exam is being conducted. Can I have my first slide, please? Shetty, are you able to do that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. No, that is not the first one. Can I go to the first one? First one. Next one, please. That one, right. So in MRCP examination, you have 10 examiners examining the candidate. And these 10 examiners, I can't see it. Can I see the slides, please? Yeah. a total of 10 examinations, and there is an 11th examiner who may help in conducting the exam smoothly. Examiner pairing is decided 3 weeks prior to the examination, and there are 5 stations with 2 examiners each, one local and an international examination. Briefing is done the previous day for 1 hour. The chief examiner and the deputy chief examiner, and along with the other examiners, and they are introduced, and the exam conducting details are briefed through a PowerPoint presentation. And there is a dinner following that. And then when the examination starts, there are 3 sessions, 2 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon. So there are 5 stations, as I said. Each candidate is examined at a station by one among the 2 examiners. Only one examiner question, and the other examiner keeps silent. Marks given independently aggregate is 130 for a pass. The highest is 180. And I'm missing my slide. Can you show my slides, please? I'm not able to. Yeah. And then after each section, the pass or fail is assessed by all examiners and decided on need for counseling, whether the candidate needs any counseling. Even if aggregate is above 130, if the candidate fails in one of the 7 domains, it is considered to be a failure. And how are the examiners chosen? The examiners who are fellows of the Royal College of any of the colleges in UK are chosen, but they have to undergo an examiner training, and only after the examiner training, they will be given a number depending upon whether they satisfy the chief examiner. And after that, they can examine independently along with the other paired examiners. If you do not examine for 2 years, you have to be retrained again. Can I have the next slide, please? Next slide, next slide, next slide. The third slide. Third slide. That's one. So what are the 7 domains? Physical examination, identifying physical signs, differential diagnosis, clinical judgment, maintaining patient welfare. It is a very important thing. Communication skill and managing patient concerns. So the physical examination is only for the cardiovascular system, respiratory system, abdomen, CNS. 6 minutes each. Security is one of the most important things in conducting this examination, because the candidate is told on that this patient has chest pain, or this patient has breathing difficulty, or for abdomen, this patient has abdominal pain or distension of the abdomen, or for the CNS, this patient has either sensory or motor deficit. Please examine. And the 2 examiners observe how the candidate is examining, and then at the end of 5 all, you have 1 more minute to examine, and they should complete the examination in 6 minutes, and the questions are asked by one of the examiners, and by the end of the examination, 4 minutes, the bell comes and you have to leave. And the next one is communication only. There are 2 stations for communication where you are mainly looking at the history taking of the candidate, how the candidate will take the history from a surrogate. It is not a patient. A surrogate is taught. It is either a young man or it's an old person, and the candidate will ask in front of the examiners history from the surrogate. And at the end of 14 minutes, we tell the surrogate to go out, and we give them 1 minute reflection, and the questions are asked for 5 minutes. Then there's another also communication where there is ethics and it is revealing bad news. So it is about somebody who has cancer. You are talking to the relative and telling them, what can be done, what is not possible, and revealing the bad news. So this is very important because it also involves the ethics of the clinical medicine. And the last one is station 5, brief clinical consultation. There also it is a surrogate. For example, I'll tell you, you will say that, okay, this patient has low sufficient, please examine the eye. So they will examine the eye from outside and also the fundus examination. And if it is normal, they will say it normal. And if it is abnormal, they will say it abnormal. And it is for about 8 minutes and 2 minutes question and answer. Each station before the examination is calibrated by 2 examiners, and they will put 1, 2, 3. These are the 3 things which are necessary for the candidate to pass, and especially in clinical examination. And you can use surrogates. For example, even in cardiovascular system, you can have a patient with the heart disease who had a myocardial infarction, and we'll tell them the patient had chest pain. Please examine and then go ahead and answering the question. So the theory examination, there are two papers, a paper one which has 200 questions and a paper two, there are 200 questions, and this is multiple choice, and this can be taken at different times of the year. It is available in India as well. So I have a feeling that we don't change the marks, and the candidates are assessed, and it is a structured examination, and we look at the clinical examination skill, we look at their communication skill, we look at how well they are in making or doing the investigations, differential diagnosis, and management of the patient. So I'll just next one. I'll show you a examiner sheet. This is what an examiner sheet is. So you have to give the three types of marking: satisfactory, borderline, and unsatisfactory. If you are satisfactory in all your 5 stations, you get 180 out of 180. And if you have borderline, and two examiners can differ, either a satisfactory or a borderline, but they cannot differ between satisfactory and unsatisfactory. That suggests that you have a problem in your assessment of the candidate. So this is how the stations are assessed, and if a candidate is borderline or unsatisfactory, you have to write here what is the reason, and this has to be entered in the calibration sheet. Next one, please. Next one. I'm coming to the last view, and this is about the clinical examination. And so clinical examination also, you have the domains there, and you have satisfactory, borderline, or unsatisfactory. So as I already alluded to, in all 7 domains, they have to pass, and the aggregate has to be above 130. So you can use surrogates for this, who are healthy surrogates, but they are taught. And also at the same time, since there are a lot of clinical material in our country, we use valvular heart disease, we may use a pleural effusion, we may use a stroke or a facial palsy, or we may use a patient with ascites or hepatosplenomegaly. This is the way the examination is conducted, and we don't change the marks at all. The marks are, if you have awarded the marks, it is entered on the computer straight away, and it moves like a carousel. So each candidate is examined at each station for 20 minutes. After the 20 minutes, you have a 5 minutes rest, and it moves on like that. So each examination lasts for about, session lasts for 125 minutes. So morning you have 2 sessions, and afternoon you have 1 session. So usually you do it for 3 days. So you will be assessing nearly 45 candidates in the period of 3 days. And you will know then and there itself, who all passed and who all failed. But candidates can appeal to the Royal College later on if they think that they were unfairly treated. So the calibration sheet can be taken and given to the candidates, and the candidate can appeal on that. But most of the time, the appeal doesn't stand because, after the examiners meet and look at the candidate's performance. So I just want to put that even in MD examination. I just want to show you one thing. In July 2015, in the API, I published an article which is called Rethinking the Postgraduate Teaching Program and Examination in Today's India. So we need to move forward. We have to change our examination. You're sitting as an MD examiner. I have seen that most of the time it is we are outdated. We need to change that. We have to look at the communication skill. We have to look at the management, including investigations as well as the treatment of the patient, which is not usually conducted in that way in an MD examination. So we need to change, and in the COVID area, things are going to change. We can use surrogates as patients and move on with the examination. So I thank you for giving me this opportunity to give you a bird's eye view of the MRCP examination in India.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abraham.
Okay, proceed.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abraham, sir. Now, my next question is to Dr. Rashmikant Dave, sir, Vice President, National Board of Examinations. Sir, we would like what way the National Board of Examination is planning to approach the student assessment challenges in the current situation.
Thank you for inviting me in this webinar. I have been in the National Board of Examinations since 3 years as a vice president, and also served as executive director for more than 2.5 years. I have seen that in the National Board of Examination, the postgraduate examination is different from the what university has been doing. The first difference is that here we are engaging the practical specifically for the practical examination. We are engaging the practical examination centers countrywide. Okay, and the students also has to travel. The candidates also has to move from one state to another state, or within the same state sometimes. But mostly they are also traveling from one state to another state. So this is the major challenge to for the conduct of a practical examination for examination, specifically in the area in the wake of this COVID situation. The another major challenge is the availability of the clinical cases and availability of the practical centers, because most of the examinations we are conducting in a government or premier institutions which are right now also they are serving the COVID patients. So they are also not right now prepared for the conduct of the practical examination. To overcome these issues, one solution to that is to appoint the examiner from the same state or the same zone, so that the examiners have to travel lesser. The candidates also can be asked to prefer a state or a zone, specifically North Zone, South Zone, West Zone, or a specific state to give for giving his or her practical examination. So thereby, the traveling of the students and the examiners can be reduced. The another is that the prioritize the examination. Which examinations has the priority right now? That examination can be conducted in a near future, and the examination which can be held a little later, they can be postponed little bit later, so that the load of the examination is not there at a single given time. So in my opinion, right now for all universities, the priority is to conduct the postgraduate examination of specifically of the MDMS and broad specialty courses, because the NEET super specialty examination, that is as per the time schedule to be held in the July, mostly first week of the July. But in the wake of this COVID situation, since all the postgraduate examination in overall all over the country is postponed, okay, it is difficult to held in the month of the July. It is until the postgraduate examination held by all the universities, okay, it is not possible to hold the NEET super specialty. So for the priority is to give priority to the examination of the broad specialties. That is the another thing. The other thing is for the national board is to have a practical center engaged in a well advanced, and extra centers may be hired for the same specialty on the same day, so that if the one can be backed out for any unforeseen circumstances or unavoidable circumstances, the standby center can be engaged. The another challenge is as I said initially, is the availability of the clinical cases. To overcome this, the practical examination can be conducted in reduced number of cases. For example, right now we have generally 4 cases in the postgraduate examination. Okay, so they can be reduced to 2 cases, and the another remaining 2 cases may be on a simulated or standardized patients or a OSCE type of examination. And above all the safety measures to prevent the spread of COVID-19 must be in place. All guidelines issued by the central and the state government must be complied with. The one example I will give you that in the month of March, we have the examination scheduled at the Mysore for the anesthesia. Though the practical center is willing to hold the examination, but the authorities, the state government authorities, they have denied to hold the examination. So that is also we have to keep in the mind that the authorities must be giving a permission to hold the examination. So this is my submission, that to overcome the challenges, we have to do some special provisions for conduct of the examination. Also, the regulators and the government also have to relax some guidelines for conduct of the examination. So this is what I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, Dr. Dave, sir. My next question is to Dr. Sachidanand, sir. So you are leading one of the most prestigious health science universities in the country. You have also served as the registrar evaluation for one term for RGHS. As you know, in India, the medical education is governed by the Medical Council of India. We have separate norms for the undergraduate courses as well as for the postgraduate courses. My question is specifically regarding the appointment of the external examiners. So as you're aware, for the medical examination postgraduate, we need to have 2 external examiners from outside the state. At this juncture, sir, is it a feasible option to call 2 external examiners? If it is not so, what may be the next via media according to your experience, sir?
Thank you, Dr. Prasad. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
I have a few slides. I'll just quickly run through that.
Yes, sir.
I think for the slides are visible.
Yes, sir, it's visible, sir.
Thank you so much. The COVID pandemic has been a very major disruptive change which has brought in medical education across the world. The anytime, anywhere aspect of technology has been rapidly and innovatively used in an attempt to maintain teaching and learning. All the universities have not been silent. They have also engaged themselves adopting to technology, and there are significant benefits to this transformative change, but there are important challenges that need to be addressed. As you rightly mentioned, and also Professor Dave also mentioned a few of them. I'll also just run through that. The scenario is COVID-19 hospitals will have less patients. External examiners refuse to travel long distances, especially so when there is still interstate, has not opened up, borders are not opened up. Then introducing competency-based examination and education system, that the new MBBS curriculum has to be implemented. Then online teaching has become a norm. Most of the universities have adopted to online teaching and kept the students busy. And postgraduates on duty getting infected with COVID-19. This is another issue that we need to think of. What are the desirable modifications of regulatory frameworks with respect to examinations? I would look at it as short-term changes and then long-term changes. The short-term changes is changing calendar of events and minimizing academic period loss. All of us know that we have lost precious 2 months already, and we are not sure how many more days we are going to lose. So this has to be planned. Then digital evaluation to be made mandatory. Of course, Rajiv Gandhi University was the first university to introduce digital evaluation, and this is made compulsory. The theory evaluation can be made very easily wherever the examiners are. Introduction of online evaluation of dissertation. This is one more thing where dissertation can be submitted online and evaluations also can be conducted online. And both theoretical and practical exams by maintaining social distancing. So whenever we conduct a theory exams or practical exams, social distance has to be maintained, while like dividing the batches into multiple batches or having examinations in the morning and afternoon, like that. Then of course there is a need to relook on current practical examination platform. Can we do this practical exams online? That is one thing. Then changing the criteria of external examiners. This is what you asked me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, of course. The 4 examiners is compulsory, and 2 of them from outside the state is what MCI says. And with the present scenario which COVID has caused us, and with the interstate borders closing, we need to, actually we are also represented to MCI through the association, through the university as well, to allow us to conduct exams from within the university, or at least from the deemed universities which we are blessed with. We have 9 deemed universities in our state, so the examiners can be always asked to come from deemed universities as well. And of course, COVID has seen that the number of patients are going to come down, and more than all the medical colleges have been designated as COVID hospitals, and a lot of patients would take a lot of time for patients to come back to these hospitals, and that's why we need to adopt simulations or mannequins or skill labs, maybe online videos, virtual patients to test student abilities. This should be allowed to us by MCI. Then practical and VOCA assessment through online modes can be conducted. Of course, we need to take consent from students on this issue. They should be willing to do that. And of course, introducing case-based scenario, case-based or scenario-based questions, additional way of long questions in theory, and conducting online AI and practicals. So all this would definitely are short-term things that we need to do. We also have long-term changes that we need to bring about. One is adoption of technology to conduct online examination, like introduction of iPad or monitors, where students write on those iPad and monitors, and instantaneously the papers are available for evaluation. We have also introduced what is called as peripheral scanning. Wherever answer book generated in the theory centers, we have introduced scanning there, then and there itself. So within 2-3 hours, the answer booklets are available for valuation, digital valuation. Another revolutionary thing that RGHS has done is web streaming of theory examination centers. We have installed cameras, high-end cameras in all the examination centers. And sitting here in Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences, we monitor each and every theory center throughout the state, and we can even zoom the lenses, the camera to the particular student and see what he is doing. So this has to a large extent has minimized malpractices. Yeah. Introducing digital valuation, as I mentioned earlier, is one way of looking forward. And here also, even in any situation, whether it is COVID or floods or whatever situation, still digital valuation, if it is there, we can get those papers examined by sending it across to any part of India. When conducting practicals and VOC in camera, this is another thing that is there. We have seen a lot of litigations, lot of court matters where students who have failed have gone to court and tried to take the university to task. So there, I think probably if we have VOC and practicals exams in camera, it brings more transparency examinations. So that is one thing I think long term we need to look at. Thank you so much, Dr. Prasad.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
My next question is to Rajesh Sharma, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, Dr. Rajesh Sharma, sir. To treat a patient, a doctor needs to have both knowledge as well as clinical acumen. Do you think the modification in the clinical training as well as assessment will affect the competency of a future doctor in our country? What is your view on this, sir?
I definitely feel clinical examination, a doctor can never sit at home. It is akin to in a war, the army schools are closed. Patient, if you don't see a patient, how you become a doctor? Why we are respected all across the world? Because of the sound knowledge and teaching methods of our country. Where our clinical diagnosis is very important and plays a vital role in taking crucial decisions about diagnosis and other investigations required. And the diversity of the country. I just want to say one thing. Clinical examinations have to continue. The medical schools, universities, nursing colleges, they have to be in the thick of the action, and they should revert back as soon as possible. A doctor is never scared of anything. We have overcome AIDS, we have overcome SARS, we have overcome MERS, and now COVID. You have to understand, there is a doctor who is treating a patient. And COVID is here to stay. For how long would we continue this? Learn to trust the system. Let the people decide. I have passed out maybe 22 years ago. I didn't see any, though the system was writing papers and the teachers and all. Our teachers used to grill us for 3 years. And maybe in today's world it is wrong, but our HOD used to say, you write about my candidate in 2 to 3 hours or one day, whom I have seen and observed during the 3 years. So universities are facing interstate travel is a problem. You have so much talent in the interstate, let it go. I don't see even harm in the various teachers of your own college taking an exam. The purpose is to teach a person they are teaching. So let them take an exam. They have to give the marks pragmatically. Let them do it, because medical education cannot sit at. This is my personal belief and my thinking. Technology is very fine, but auscultation, you can hear many sounds, but putting a step on the chest and listening, and orthopedic surgeon, being an orthopedic surgeon, unless you don't have a feel of a broken bone, you cannot simulate it. That's my take. Thank you so much. And if you all permit, I'm deeply honored to be in this webinar. I have a meeting to attend. I would be highly obliged if you could excuse. Thank you so much. Do I have the permission, Professor Mandari?
Thank you, Rajan.
Thank you. Okay, bye. Bye, everybody.
Wonderful. Your point really, yes, regarding formative assessment, I agree with you that a candidate who has been there with a teacher for 3 years, definitely the teacher has got much role than that final 3 hours or 4 hours examination. I agree with you. I think it's a very valid point. I think the rest of the panelists, after you, since you have to go, I'll take the opinion from other panelists also about this particular, because for formative assessment, there is no marks in postgraduate examination so far. And this can be considered in this, particularly this situation where we don't have any control over so many aspects of getting examiners, getting the patients, and moving, and even the candidates moving from one place to other. There's a lot of problems out there. I agree with you, and thank you very much for participating.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody. Bye, sir. Bye.
So thank you very much for sharing your expert views, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So my next question is to Dr. Sachidanand, sir. So you said we can modify certain things. In case if we modify the assessment methods for the current batch of exam-going students at this juncture, is it the right move, sir? Whether our student fraternity will accept it?
Yeah, this is an extraordinary situation that all of us are facing. Extraordinary situations require extraordinary decisions. That is how I feel. We need to adjust to the whatever situation that we are facing now has to be dealt with in a different way. Yes, I know the assessment, which has been very formal that we had earlier, has to be modified, because the present situation, the students have lost academic period for almost 2 months. We don't know when they're going to restart, and then when again. So we need to adjust to that and probably modify our assessment system also. So the students will definitely accept it. I don't think students should have any problem in this decision.
Okay.
In fact, they are demanding that passes even without conducting exams, which may not be acceptable in our medical this thing. So at least they have to be examined in a proper way. May not be in the formal way that we were doing earlier. Modify it and see that students also accept it. I'm sure they'll accept it.
Dr. Dave, sir, what is your opinion on this point? Sir, your audio is muted, sir. Dave, sir.
Hello. Yeah, now can I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
Yeah. So, student fraternity, as Dr. Sachidanand sir has said, that they can accept the revised method or whatever the modified method of assessment. So, as I said in that we should have prioritized which examination we should conduct the first, because until suppose in the first year students or second year students, we can conduct the examination, but after the examination, what are the classes are going to be happen or not? So there's also the another question. So final year examination, they are the priority, and students are also waiting for that examination. The postgraduate MD and MS examination, if we take that on the priority, then our country will have also more specialists that can cater the services in this situation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
My next question is to Dr. Georgie Abraham, sir. Sir, as you know, presently most of our medical schools, they are well equipped with the skill labs. Sir, do you feel the usage of these skill labs can be an alternative method for the assessment of the postgraduate students. Sir, please unmute your mic.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, you're audible
I
now.
was about to say that even for undergraduate examination, I was thinking that for examination of the pulse, examination of the jugular venous pressure, examination of the paranasal sinuses, or examination for edema, examination of the abdomen, examination of the lung, examination of the limbs or neurological examination. These all can be undertaken as process Sachidananda said through digital methods. We show them a pulse being taken. Is it the right way? We can show 3 patients. Is it the right way to check the pulse? And show them that which one would you think is the right way? Exactly same way. We can show JVP being checked. Is it the right way it is being checked at 45 degrees or a paranasal sinus examination? Or for that matter, the skin examination. Are you doing the right skin examination? So this can all be done digitally for undergraduate examination also. So the candidate can come to the examination hall and we can give them, for example, in the University of Aberdeen, one of the examiners who came for MRCP is one Dr. Mary. I got her involved in our undergraduate. She said that each MBBS candidate before their graduation, they examine the patient 5 minutes each station. So they don't examine the patient as a whole. Check the JVP, maybe they are checking the pulse and see that whether they are doing it, whether they can interpret. So this can be done in a matter of maybe 3 minutes or 5 minutes, because we teach them how to do the pulse. And all these can be in undergraduate examination. All these can be done through digital methods where we have the skill lab. In postgraduate examination, as I said, that we can do it through digital, but at the same time, I feel that postgraduate examination, the assessment, it is a continuous training and it's a continuous assessment. When you do the continuous training, in skill lab, you won't be able to look at the ethics and also their communication skill, because skill lab doesn't do that. So skill lab can be used for clinical assessment of cardiovascular system. For example, you hear a murmur, is it the right diagnosis you are making? Or for abdominal examination, central nervous system examination, other examination, but not for communication skill. Communication is a very important thing in postgraduate medicine. How you communicate with the patient, are you compassionate, do you empathize with them, and also at the same time, you need to make sure that you have made a good differential diagnosis, even in a communication system. As Professor Rajesh Sharma said, clinical examination to come to a diagnosis, a differential diagnosis is very important. So I agree with you, because skill labs can be used for postgraduate examination, but communication has to be separate. Communication and ethics have to be separate. So I agree with you in the COVID time, but it has to be a time bound, because once I was sitting for an MD examiner with one of the external examiners, one candidate, second attempt, the exam went on up to 5 hours. What is the use of examining a candidate for 5 hours? Because there is nothing you are going to get out of it. So it should be a time-bound examination. So at the end of 10 minutes, you stop it. There is nothing more. Our examiners are not used to it. They keep on asking examination when I sit in the examiner as an examiner. So it should be time-bound. You should stop it at the same time. And you assess the patient, the candidate, do they know the basic things? Or in a postgraduate examination, are they competent enough to take care of your patient as a registrar or as a doctor? So this is how you should go and move on.
Prasad,
Yes, sir.
just relevant condition where the relevant examination pattern
Yes,
with
sir.
ENT, DNB following for the last, I think, more than 10, 15 years. Daveji must be aware of that. They create stations. And what Georgie said, each one is given 5 minutes or 5 to 6 minutes and asked to demonstrate various skills, including a communication skill. And some are observation stations, some are non-observed, and some are video sessions, some are drug on various aspects like ENT, audiogram procedure, CT scan, MRI, all these things are given and time bound. Each cubicle they'll be spending 3 or 5 minutes. And even communication, breaking the bad news, all these things can be definitely evaluated by using OSCE station. I think, as Professor Sachidananda said, this is very difficult situation. Whether we can, for this batch, whether we can, MCA permits us with the formality assessment and along with this type of examination, whether we can conduct examination. That's the issue which I think the seniors like
So-
people guide us.
So, with your permission, Dr. VP Mishra, who was supposed to be one of the panelists, he's been not able to join because of the technical problem from his end, but he's over the phone now.
Okay.
So, we will ask him a question and he would like to answer.
Yes.
With your permission, sir.
Yes.
Dr. Mishra, sir. Dr. Mishra, sir, am I audible to you, sir?
Yeah, audible.
Yes, sir. So we wanted to have you, sir. So we wanted to have you as a panelist, but because of some technical reason, we were not able to see you. But we are happy that you are on the line. I will pose the question to you, sir. Sir, you have been the part of this medical education for a quite long time. You have seen all the ups and downs. So according to you, what are the difficulties? Hello? So what? Yes, sir. Am I audible to you? So what are the difficulties in the current scenario for the clinical assessment and clinical training? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please go on, sir.
Hello.
Yes, please go on, sir. We are not able to hear him. In case if we get him through, we will get him on the line, sir.
Okay. Hello.
Yes, sir. Please go on, sir. Please go on.
एक मिनट.
Sir, please go ahead, sir. Sir, please go ahead. Yeah, unfortunately, we were not able to get him. Sir, to Dr. George Abraham and Dr. Dave, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, our VC sir had posed a question. You can answer for that question, sir. Regarding the usage of OSCE or the other modalities for the assessment of postgraduate exams.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I am audible. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I think that we can use that because having been an examiner in both MD and MRCP, I think that definitely we can implement that. But we need to do it step by step. Regarding the external examination process, Sachidananda said something. We have in Chennai about 12 trained examiners for MRCP, more than 12. So they are in Chennai. So we are pairing them with those who are coming from abroad. So I don't think that the MCI rule as there should be 2 examiners from outside the state. Does it stand at all in our current situation? I think that we can use the local examiners from Bangalore or from Mangalore. Bangalore has 5 medical colleges. Why can't we have the examiners from there pairing with the internal examiners and do the examination? Examiners are always fair. I believe that, I finished my MD from Kasturba Medical College in 1979. And Dr. KP Ganeshan was my director. I think that, the examination system has changed and we have new technology. So we can use the local examiners. We don't have to. I think that in your position as Vice Chancellor, you should tell the Medical Council of India that local examiners who are present in the city or nearby areas can be used as external examiners. And I totally agree with Prasad that we can use OSCE and we should start moving on with that.
Dr. Dave, sir, your opinion on this, sir?
Yeah. I also feel that the OSCE should be introduced in all the examination under medical faculty, whether it is undergraduate or the postgraduate examination, step by step, not hurriedly, because the OSCE, as I have seen in the national board, that we are running the OSCE in two subjects right now, in ENT and the pediatrics. It requires a lots of time and efforts to develop it, and the design of the OSCE, the marking, and it also requires meticulous planning. So what I suggest is that for the OSCE, every university should have also question banking for OSCE, so that it can be used repeatedly, but and even updating the OSCE every year by the experts. Okay, so that the new changes also can be incorporated in the OSCE. In the postgraduate examination, what I suggest is the long case examination, it can be taken by a modified OSCE, like objective structured long case examination. Okay, in which one case can be examined by the way of the OSCE by asking the question on history taking, physical examination and management. And also there may be, we can keep the simulated patient or a structured patient, so that patient can be taught how to elicit, how to present themselves. So, and in this, the inter-university exchange of ideas and thoughts, it is always helpful. And the guy, as I said, the question, because every subject needs different types of the examination. Pediatrics OSCE may be different for ENT, so surgical OSCE is also different. So every subject-wise OSCE we have to do for the patient banking. So experts can be engaged for that. So the major drawback, as OSCE examination, it cannot be assess a candidate as a whole, like we can do in the postgraduate examination. So in a postgraduate examination, we are assessing a candidate for a long case, short case, like that. In a structured OSCE questions, the OSCE questions, they only assess the particular skill or particular component of that one. So by modifying the OSCE, by asking a question on a long case, on one particular case, okay, we can introduce in the postgraduate examination also. So this is my submission. And also, as I said, the inter-university exchange of ideas and thoughts, they are also helpful in development of the OSCE in the other faculties also. Thank you.
So thank you, sir. Thank you, Dave, sir. My next question is to Dr. Sachidanand, sir. UGC has come out with the guidelines. One of the option what is given is conduction of the online exam. So do you feel the application of the online exam for the medical fraternity will be a viable option?
Yeah, that's a thing to be thought of. As I told earlier, we are talking with particular reference to a COVID situation, isn't it? So
yes,
with that being the case, and students of a university like Rajiv Gandhi University are scattered everywhere. The moment the holidays were declared, they've gone back to their homes, and they're lying in the different states now. But the interstate borders have not been opened. There are situations like the students are losing their academic period. I think it is wise at this point of time to conduct online examinations for students wherever they are. We are also thinking of that sort of a situation. It is very difficult to move them and bring them back to their college campuses. Why not? There are technology available now. Only thing that the student, if he's in a remote area, he has to move to a place where such technology is available to him. So that sort of within the state, probably that shouldn't be a problem. He can move to a city where such provision is available, and we have to think of that. If we lose much more days now, 31st May is what is the deadline that Government of India has told us. If it extends beyond that, probably we have to think of all these things, because we cannot allow students to lose this precious time. I think to save that, we need to adapt to the situation as well.
Sir, we may be able to cover up the theory exams on the online mode. But what about the practical assessment for the postgraduate students, sir?
Yeah, we've already experimented this in Bangalore Medical College. We have conducted online practical examination also. The students were very comfortable. They were made to sit in a different building, and in the main building we were sat and tried to conduct the examinations. It was very successful. They really enjoyed it. The way they think, and were very open to that idea. So we have to change with the times now. That's what I'm saying. We have to move on. That is what technology, when it's available, why not make best use of it?
It was a good thing, but there are some subjects like obstetrics and gynecology where they have clinical assessment. Do you feel there may be some privacy issues which may crop in during the practical assessment?
Yeah, in such situations, probably so those things can be done in a closed door. Otherwise, we have to employ simulation in such places. They can go to a nearby medical college, and from there, this sort of a inter-medical college cooperation should be there. We need to, if the student is in Patna, he can go to Patna Medical College and probably fix up a day for a particular day for conducting this exam, and we can utilize the facilities available there. So why not? He can be assessed in that place. So that is what I'm trying to say. And we should make best use of a simulation and mannequins that are available. I think that would be a better way of helping the students out in this situation.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So my next question is to Dave, sir. Most of the medical schools are using online classes for covering the syllabus. Do you feel it's a progressive move in delivery of education in the medical fraternity?
Yeah, sure. Because the online classes, in the wake of this COVID situation, this is the only alternative to impart the education to the students. And but how to assess, how to taught them a clinical skill? That question remains. Okay, we can impart the theoretical knowledge to them, but how to impart the physical examination skills, clinical examination skills? That we have to think about that also. For that also, we can develop some simulated demonstrations and like that. But the real thing, the candidates assessing the patients in the clinical wards, clinical rounds, case presentation, that is not possible in online mode right now until some innovative methods can be introduced. So online lectures are helpful for the imparting the theoretical knowledge. And right now, this is the only method by which we can impart the education to the candidates. And also we can give the assignment to the students. We can assess them by giving the MCQs and like that. So that also can be done.
Yes, sir. Thank you. My next question is to Dr. Sachidanand, sir.
Yes, sir.
My next question is to Dr. Sachidanand, sir. It's regarding the methodology, what could be adopted for the practical assessment. Currently, as per the MCI norm, a student needs to assess 1 long case and 2 short cases. In this scenario, the medical hospitals, they may not get adequate number of patients. So they will not be able to take up this 1 long case and 2 short cases. What may be alternative option in this scenario, sir?
The student can be assessed in various ways. Long case and short case have been a very traditional way of assessing students. In order to change the method of assessment, we can have. I know patients are going to be very less here. Probably we can take up models. We can keep maybe models. That's the most important thing available in museums that can be shown. And student. Of course, you are talking about practical exams, right?
Yes,
this is a Viva. Yes, practical exams, you can have to adopt simulation only. Simulation is the best way to go forward. And you need to understand why simulation started. We can ask a child to learn a bicycle by holding the bicycle and going forward. You can teach a person car driving. But when it comes to flying, that's where simulation started. So the necessity made us invent that simulation and then employ that. That is what is happening here. And future it is not going to be the same. Patients are not going to allow students to come and examine them. Maybe the seniors only would be allowed to examine. Others, residents and postgraduates, they may not be allowed to touch a patient. So we need to adapt to this. And that is why simulation has already been introduced in Western countries. So we need to go forward with that. Probably slowly it is changing. And COVID has made it more evident now. That situation is now more evident because of COVID-19.
Thank you, sir. Sir, one question more to you.
Yeah.
The student, because they feel that is his assessment will be done on a one-day basis. What he would have done for last 3 years, that assessment is done for only one day. But during that point of time, in case if we change the methodology, do you feel there is a possibility that student may contest in the court of law? In case if he fails. As long as everything is normal, if he passes, then there will not be any problem. In case if he fails, do you feel the student will contest?
Exactly. A student who passes will never come back to and question the system, whatever may be the methodology adopted. But if a student fails, yes, all hell breaks loose, and that's where we try to challenge the system and say that he was not examined properly. But I think here making the student understand in the change that we are going to bring about in assessing him and asking is take a consent from him, only then we can proceed. And for that probably we need to have some regulatory changes, MCI approvals and things like that. It is possible. We need to convince the student, tell him and make him know that this different deviated method of assessment is now being adopted for you. Are you willing to undergo this? Only then it can be proceed. Okay.
Sir,
something like taking an informed consent.
Yes, sir. I think this is the most ideal situation and it's a more ideal option. Thank you, sir.
I'm just wondering, why should we have these long cases and short cases? Ever since I started my MBBS in 1969, long and short. What is the meaning of this long and short? Can't we have they do in MRCPX and 5 stations and a given particular time? Why do we stick to these long and short cases? Please answer, you educationists.
Sir, I'm very happy to note that being such a senior person, you are so flexible. But still, we have certain fraternity in the medical field. They're not able to accept this kind of changes. I think they have to make up their mind.
Change is a must now. We have to change it. I request our national board. National board can introduce so many things which medical council cannot do it. I request the national board chairman and the vice president to please change. Change is a must now.
Sir, in national board right now we don't have a long case or short case. Right now we have only 4 cases for each clinical examination, clinical subject examination. We have 4 cases. That's why what I said is that in this wake of the COVID situation, where the availability of the clinical cases are less, we can reduce the number of cases, maybe 1 or 2, and the rest of the cases are maybe we can ask the candidates about a clinical case-based scenario like that.
Sir, with your permission, Dr. VP Mishra is online.
Prasad, I have a meeting with your Deputy Director of Health Services regarding the dialysis unit in Karnataka. It was supposed to be at 4:30. Can I join with him now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Excuse me for that.
Right. Hello.
Yes.
Hello, Georgie.
Yes.
You said a very valid point. Even the COVID situation, one of the studies has shown that no interaction should happen more than 30 minutes.
Yes.
COVID virus spread if you exchange and interact for more than 30 minutes. I think short cases is very ideal now.
Yes.
I think it should not be more than 20 to 25 minutes.
Right.
You can have more short cases.
Yes.
And one of the, I think the specialty which is definitely can perform online exam and assessment is dermatology.
Yes. I was just feeling that.
I think you are one of the specialty. Definitely, you can have online clinical examination.
Yeah.
So, can I leave now?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sorry about that because he is waiting there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, may I request all the panelists to share their opinion how a medical school should be prepared to face such an extraordinary situation? Sachidanand, sir.
Can you repeat the question again, please? Sorry, I didn't.
Sir, may I request you to share your opinion how a medical school should be prepared in such extraordinary situation? May it be to conduct the online exams, or may it be to conduct online classes, or may it be to conduct the practical assessment?
The first thing they should do is now run for equipping themselves with all the technological tools that are available. All schools should run and make it, because I'm sure none of the medical colleges are equipped with these things. Now they have to open their eyes, run and establish. Like for example, in COVID situation, we have asked all the private medical colleges to establish laboratory tests. It was not there. RT-PCR testing was not there. Now all of them are scooting here and there to procure these equipments. Similarly, my advice is to all the colleges to equip themselves with technology. We don't know what situation will arise in the future. This century is going to be a century of epidemics. We may have more COVIDs, more such viral epidemics. So we need to be prepared. We need to adopt. We need to change. We need to equip ourselves.
Thank you, sir. Over to you, sir. Dr. Dave, sir.
Yeah, I also agree with that. All the colleges, whether it is medical, dental, they have to adopt the new way of the teaching, like online classes, and also to develop, as I had said, to develop how to impart the clinical knowledge by the way of the technology. That is also, we can prepare the, as I said, the simulated models, how to do the clinical examination. That part can also be covered, and how case presentation, online case presentation on a dummy patient or on a real patient, that can be done online demonstration classes. Okay, so all these colleges, whether it is medical, dental or physiotherapy, nursing schools, they all have to prepare for that. And also the skill labs, every college have to have a skill lab specifically for the undergraduate students, specifically. So these can be, because the undergraduate, the largest group of the students are the undergraduate students. Okay, compared to the postgraduate students. So we have to have for them to impart the clinical skills. Okay, we have to have come out with some novel ideas to impart them with the clinical skills and teaching. That's
Yes,
what
sir.
my
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. No doubt, this is a crucial time for the education sector. The lockdown has generated uncertainty over the exam cycle. We all are going through the most trying circumstances, but as always, the tough time will also pass. Today's discussion was a small effort to find a solution to mitigate the impacts of COVID-19 on our education system. At this juncture, we have to consider these challenges as an opportunity to explore the newer avenues when life comes to normal. Before closing down, can I request our Vice Chancellor for the closing remarks?
First of all, I should thank the esteemed panelists for sharing their very valuable time and spending for more than 1 hour regarding enlightening us on the various assessment modalities. The summary, what I could gather is there is each methodology has got its own advantage and disadvantages. This is as Honorable Vice Chancellor of Rajiv Gandhi University, Sachidananda said, this extraordinary time and we have to adopt an extraordinary measure. I think there is online teaching is not a substitute for bedside teaching and clinical examination. Always bedside teaching and clinical examination stay, but this is only a temporary phase, so we hope. But we should be adapting new technology for teaching as well as evaluation. Let us borrow the good things from various aspects of various methodologies of examination, like what Georgie said. Cases MRCP examination has got own advantage. OSCE has got its own advantage. Our traditional short cases, again, that has got its own advantage. Let us have a hybrid of all these examinations. We shall form it. I request Rajiv Gandhi University take a lead. I think we can definitely blend our help also in formulating a hybrid sort of examination which can be adapted, and our students should be trained. As Prasad said, definitely there will be some issues regarding employing this type of assessment in this examination, and by taking their consent, definitely do it for their benefit, and let us pass through this critical period. And I wish the bad days will be over within the next 6 months to 1 year, and let us expect brighter days. And I thank once again the panelists and the moderator for this wonderful webinar on assessment modalities for postgraduate examination. Thank you very much. And thank all the participants for their keen interest in this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Bhandari, for this opportunity. It was a pleasure being there, and I look forward to formulating such blended type of practical examinations. I think that is the way forward. Thank you, Dr. Shetty Prasad Shetty for being with us. Dr. Dave, thank you so much. Nice meeting you online.
Thank you, Dr. Sachidanand. Thank you, Dr. Bhandari.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.